Are you ready for the before the finale review of The Mandalorian Season 3? All right, guys, let's talk about The Mandalorian Season 3. Boy, do I have some thoughts on this season, and I am really eager to see the finale coming up this coming week. We've had 7 episodes this season, and I will tell you right off that this was a bait and switch season. This is no longer about Din Djarin. It is about Bo-Katan. This season was all over the place. Now, you're going to find a lot of hate for this season online. I didn't hate this season as much as the rest of everyone else did. But this show does have some problems. First of all, the writers have come out and said now it's about the Mandalorians, not just Din Djarin. But the Mandalorian can be plural as well, and they did admit it's going to be more about the Mandalorian as a group of people than it is just about Din Djarin. And I wouldn't be surprised if they kill him off at the very end of the season, and he's done and gone. Let's talk about some of the things I did not like. First of all, it is a bait and switch, and we saw this within the first couple of episodes of the season where Din Djarin went back to Mandalore and was captured by this hybrid creature in the caverns, and he was taken hostage, and Bo-Katan had to come to his rescue. That's when I kind of felt like this show was probably going to be more about her than it was going to be about him, and that's the way it's been for the rest of the season. It's about her getting the dark saber back. It's about her coming to be the leader of the Mandalorian as a people, and that's what they've done. Disney is on a full-blown female sweep of all of their programs, and we saw this happen with the Obi-Wan program, which should have been more about him, but it was more about Reva's story. And I didn't mind Reva's story. I actually enjoyed it, but she should have been introduced somewhere else before she was brought into the Obi-Wan show to make it more organic. But they pushed her story, and it was not about her. And in fact, it had the most ridiculous, her story, the way it ended, was the most ridiculous thing that they did at her final episode. And this is what they're doing across the board with everything. They even admitted with the Acolyte that they're going to be going full female. And they're definitely, Disney's more about identity politics than anything else at this point. And I don't know how many female characters they can have. You still have to keep your core audience. For those who don't know, here in America, we have a brand of beer called Bud Light. And boy, there's been a lot of stuff. If you don't know about the Bud Light story, go look and see what's going on. It's all about identity politics, and it is destroying companies. And this is why Disney is having problems. Now, did I hate this season? No. A lot of people claimed that it was all over the place and that there was no coherence to the story. I would disagree. I actually had this complaint. If you go back and watch my review of previous seasons, that was my complaint from the beginning of the show's inception, that it seemed like every week it was a different story with no cohesive road. Now, we've had that so far in this season. It was way more cohesive. You could see what they were doing. But what was weird is, they made it clear that Moff Gideon had gotten away and that he never stood trial. They talked about it in a few episodes throughout the season, but then they just shoehorn him in to episode 7 like he's just thrown in there and he's back. And you see all the stuff that he's been working on. And I don't know how he went from the dark troopers from season 2 to the dark troopers that he has now. They didn't show any of the in-between. They didn't show how that all went. But we did get to see a little bit of the cloning. And, there was one episode, I think it was episode 3 or 4, that was completely a different story with some scientists from, Andor and stuff like that, and also the beginning of the first season of The Mandalorian. And you're seeing that they're definitely dabbling still in the whole cloning thing. Now, they're going to have to wrap that story up at some point because this takes place before the sequel trilogy. And I don't remember, I could be wrong. I'm not as familiar with the sequel trilogy as I am the original trilogy and the prequels, but I don't remember there being dark troopers in the sequel trilogy. So they're going to have to wrap up this whole Moff Gideon thing before they finish the storyline with the Mandalorian overall. And I don't know how many seasons this is going to go. We did get to learn a lot more about the Mandalorians in this season. We get to see Mandalore itself, and there's some pretty nefarious things going on in the underground, and it looks like where it has been Moff Gideon's his place for quite a while for what he's been doing and working on. But we didn't see anything, like I said, we didn't get to see any of the in-between, from Season 2 to Season 3 and what he was working on. But I digress. It is what it is. What I do really like about this season, though, is I will tell you this last episode, I really enjoyed it. We got to see some really good special effects, some good action. It was really well done. It was really well choreographed. I thought it was excellent. It was executed really well. But again, they kind of shoehorned Moff Gideon in there and kind of pushed the story way forward. I felt like this should have been a story that was told over a season or two, more than one season, probably 2 seasons, maybe more. But they're not really building up to it. They have a whole lot of nonsense episodes, and then they throw in the big ones as their big hitters, which is weird. You could make it more even-keeled and make every episode count and push that story a little further, but it's not written in the most intelligent way. I am enjoying this season, I think, more than previous seasons. Even though there were certain things in other seasons that I enjoyed more, I think this one has been the most cohesive with the story overall. I'm just not happy with how like I said, they're jumping to quick conclusions in certain storylines and just pushing it forward. But I will be doing a final season review when the next episode comes out, this coming week, and I'm eager to see how it ends. And I'm eager to see what they're going to do in the future. But like I said, they are full on now, going full, straight into the female category with this. They're leaving the men behind, and they're going away from their base of who got Star Wars to where it is to begin with. And it's kind of sad to see because there's room for both. You can definitely have as many female protagonists as you do male, but they're just going full identity politics with this. And we're going to see where this goes, moving forward. I do like Bo-Katan as a character. She has a history, and that's good. And I do like the fact that she's in there. But I don't like the way that they're executing this. And we're going to see what happens in that final episode and what ultimately ends up happening with Din Djarin. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what I think is the biggest missed opportunity of this season. Why even have Grogu in there? Why? And for people who didn't see the Boba Fett show, they're going to be ultimately confused as to how were they put back together. And he doesn't really serve a purpose in the season, although this last episode there was a really funny scene with him that actually made me laugh out loud, which was really funny. But outside of that, he doesn't have a purpose. He doesn't need to be there. It's like they've really pushed Grogu and Din Djarin aside and really made this the Bo-Katan story. So anyway, we're going to see what happens with the finale. I do appreciate all the support. If you haven't liked the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You will be notified as new videos go up.